Thank you, Cathaoirleach, and welcome, Minister. I support the motion before the House wholeheartedly and commend my colleague, Senator Curry, for championing it and for affording us the opportunity to speak on this very important issue. When the British government speaks about amnesty, it all sounds very philosophical and abstract. It's a language far removed from the lived experience of people's lives and losses. It is cruelly disrespectful of the very real people who are subjected to the most heinous atrocities and the families that have to pick up their lives and live with the injustices of that all their lives. I have the honour of knowing Kathleen Gillespie. She's Kate to us. We meet at the family occasions involving my husband and our godchildren. I know her as a peace and reconciliation activist, as a grandmother and a gifted knitter, someone who knitted beautiful cardigan for my daughter when she was born. Kate has lived all her life in Derry. She was 16 when she met Patsy Gillespie. She married him when they were 20. They lived in Bishop Street in Derry City, a quieter spot that she describes as being reasonably removed from the Troubles. They had 2 sons and a daughter together. Patsy ran his own business, which unfortunately went bankrupt, and to support his family and to pay his bills and pay his way in life, he took a job in the army camp, rendering him, in the eyes of what some in the IRA considered to be a legitimate target. Everything changed on the night of their son's 18th birthday in October 1990, when Patsy Gillespie was abducted from his home by the IRA. Kathleen and her children were told he'd be back soon, and while they were held at gunpoint by masked men. In her words, they took Patsy away that night and they left men behind in the house, armed and masked men, with me and my family. They stayed with us from midnight to 4 a.m. At 4 a.m, the phone rang and the boys that were there ran out. We heard an explosion. Afterwards, we found out what happened. Patsy was chained to a van, the steering wheel and the pedals, and he was instructed to drive into the army checkpoint, where the bomb was exploded by remote control. The IRA then remotely detonated the bomb, killing Patsy and 5 soldiers. He was identified from a small piece of flesh on a zip that was found on the roof of a pub many at a great distance from the actual site of the explosion. So let's be clear here. There is no cause that justifies that type of barbarity. It is unthinkable to imagine that the suffering of that man in his last moments, knowing what was ahead of him, not knowing the fate of his family. Equally, that family heard the explosion that snuffed out the life of their husband, their father. He was also a son, a brother, a friend. No cause justifies it, and equally, there is no objective that justifies the closing off the opportunity to investigate it and bring to justice those vile perpetrators. Kathleen embarked on a mission of peace and reconciliation to keep herself sane and to be a role model to her children, fearing that they would be radicalised in the pursuit of vengeance for their father. She has spoken with world leaders in workshops. She's the most extraordinary woman who pursues dialogue, peace and reconciliation. But her pursuit of peace should not be mistaken ever as her waiving her right to justice. She has worked with the Historical Inquiries Team, which was a unit of the Police Service of Northern Ireland set up in September 2005 to investigate the 3,269 unsolved murders committed during the Troubles, specifically between 1968 and 1998. And she worked with them in an attempt to find out the who and the what regarding her husband's killers. There is a strong evidence of collusion. A knowledge of the atrocity that killed her husband was known to the intelligence services. They told her at the winding up of the HET that there were boxes and boxes of information and evidence relating to her husband's murders. She was able to give a description of the clothes worn by the 5 people that were involved that night. 5 men were arrested and that clothing was found in a safe house nearby. The 5 people were later released without charge. And that 5 people some of those 5 people took a case for wrongful imprisonment and they received compensation. The Historical Inquiries Team was wound up in 2014 when the PSNI was restructured due to budget cuts. That in itself, in my view, is an amnesty by stealth, because the strangulation of funds into those who would investigate the truth is just another means of stopping the processes. The proposal by the British government will actually protect Paddy Gillespie's killers from prosecution and even from investigation. It is vile and unjust to leave families hanging without answers, without investigations, and ultimately without justice. The dead matter. Their voices cry out for justice. They aren't merely collateral damage for a British government trying to buy votes in the shoring up of prosecutions against maybe the actions of their armed forces, and they're just one cohort of people that should have been brought to justice. The murdered and their families deserve resolution. They deserve investigation, and they deserve prosecution. Where there is no justice, there really is no peace. So I commend the motion and congratulate Senator Curry. Thank you.